How might native speakers answer questions about friendship, agriculture, and a possession they couldn't live without? In this video, I'll be giving you some Band 9 model answers and showing you that you don't need to use difficult phrasal verbs or lots of idiomatic expressions to improve your speaking and get a high mark in your IELTS exam. So come and join me. In this video, I will be playing the role of a candidate from Brazil, Claudio. I hope I said that right. And he will be giving us answers on the topic of friendship, agriculture, and a possession he couldn't live without. So if you're looking for some great ideas on these topics to improve your speaking or to get a high IELTS bound score, then this is a must-see video. Remember, to get the most from this video, pay attention to the language I use and my native speaker pronunciation. So, if you're ready, let's get started.
Can you tell me your full name, please?
I'm Claudio Alves Fernandez.
And where are you from?
I'm from Salvador, which is in the northwest of Brazil. It's the country's third largest city and was Brazil's first capital.
Can I see your identification, please?
Yes. Here you go.
Thank you, that's fine. Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about what you do. Do you work or are you a student?
I work. I'm a journalist for a local TV network here in my city.
And why did you choose this career?
Well, from quite an early age, my parents encouraged me to watch the TV news with them. And when I watched the reporters working in different locations, I remember thinking, wow, this must be really exciting. And perhaps this is a job I would like to do one day.
What do you like best about your job?
I think one of the things I like best about my job is that no 2 days are the same. When I wake up in the morning, I have no idea what kind of news I'm going to be reporting, and I find that really exciting.
Let's talk about friendship. How important are your friendships to you?
Well, I'd say they're one of the most important things in my life. In my case, my closest friends are like family. I know they'll always be there for me, in the good times, and more importantly, when things get tough. But I can rely on their support, whatever the situation. And I think we generally feel healthier and enjoy a better quality of life when we have friends. If you share experiences with other people, it makes them more enriching and memorable than if you're just doing things on your own.
What do you and your friends enjoy doing together?
Well, nowadays we don't get to see each other as often as we used to do in the past because with our families and our careers we lead very busy lives. But when we do get the opportunity to all meet up, what we usually like to do on these occasions is to have a barbecue at somebody's home. And we just enjoy hanging out together, chatting and reminiscing about old times. And apart from that, I occasionally play a game of tennis with my friends, but to be honest, not that often.
What do you enjoy most about spending time with your friends?
I think I definitely have to say how it makes me feel. I've noticed that when I've arranged to meet up with my friends, I'm always in a really good mood, even 2 or 3 days beforehand. I think this is because it's much harder for us to all get together these days, and so I look forward to it much more than when we used to see each other all the time.
Now let's talk about agriculture. Have you ever visited or worked on a farm?
Actually, I have, because one of my uncles owns a cattle farm. When I was a teenager, I spent a couple of summers there with my cousins, and as they had certain daily tasks to do, I was also expected to help out. One of the jobs we had to do on a daily basis was feed the cattle, which actually turned out to be quite hard work. I'm pretty sure at the time I didn't enjoy it very much. But what I learned from the experience is that cattle farming is a very difficult way of life, and I'm definitely not cut out to be a farmer.
Is farming a typical way of life in your country?
Well, Brazil is a very large country with different subclimates, so I think it depends very much on which region you live in. Some areas are obviously much better for farming than others. I think I read somewhere recently, though, that about 17% of the population is employed in the agricultural sector. And even though there are some very big farms owned by wealthy landowners, I think the majority are small holdings, family-run businesses whose workforce is mainly made up of other family members and relatives. And I believe that much of this is subsistence farming.
What are the most important agricultural products in your country?
Well, I think traditionally Brazil's most important agricultural product was sugarcane, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we continue to be the world's largest producer. And although this crop continues to be extremely important to the Brazilian economy, farmers have diversified into other areas. For example, Brazil is now the world's largest producer of soybean and coffee, and also provides about 80% of the world's orange juice.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
So here's some paper and a pen to make some notes. And here's your topic. Please don't write anything on the booklet. I'd like you to describe a possession you cannot live without.
Describe a possession you cannot live without. You should say what it is, how long you've had it for, what you use it for, and explain why you think you cannot live without it.
All right?
Okay.
Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Well, I think I only have 2 possessions that I couldn't live without. One is my mobile phone, but I'm going to talk about the other one, which is an old acoustic guitar, which originally belonged to my grandfather. And even though it's been in the family for 3 generations now, I've not actually had it for that long. My grandfather handed it down to my father before I was born, and my father only recently passed it on to me. So I reckon it's been in the family for around 60 years, and I've had it in my possession for about 2 of those. As you can imagine, because it's a guitar, what I love to do is play it. I have many happy memories of watching my father do this when I was growing up. He loved to play it and sing traditional Brazilian folk songs, sometimes just on his own in order to relax, but it's always been a very important part of all our family celebrations and get-togethers. When all my family and relatives meet up to celebrate a birthday or another special occasion, after we've finished eating, the guitar always comes out. In the past, not only did my grandfather or my father play and sing, everybody else would join in as well. So there was always a really nice family atmosphere at these occasions. And nowadays, it's my job to provide the entertainment. I have to thank my grandfather, though, for showing me. When I was only a boy, he'd sit me on his lap and teach me to play the different chords. And then I'd practice all the songs he used to sing for hours on end, until I'd learned to play them all by heart. So for me, this guitar is a really important possession, because it's given us a lot of happy memories and has so much sentimental value. and for this reason it would be very hard for me to live without it, and I can't ever imagine parting with it.
Thank you. How long do you think you will keep this possession?
Well, I think my grandfather's old guitar has become something of a family heirloom, as I'm the third generation to have it in my possession. And even though it's not valuable in the way that an antique is, and it's a bit old and worn, it has far too much sentimental value, as I said before, not only for me, but also the rest of my family. So I wouldn't ever dream of parting with it.
Thank you. Can I take the booklet and the pencil and paper back, please? Thank you. We've been talking about a possession you cannot live without, and I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions related to this. So let's consider, first of all, the cost of possessions. Why do some people like to own expensive things?
Well, there are probably a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, I think that we've been taught that price equates to value, so we automatically assume that the more expensive the product is, the better quality or more beautifully designed it must be. And I think another reason people prefer to buy expensive goods over cheaper ones is the feel-good factor. As humans, we have a greater desire and attach stronger emotions to owning designer brands and luxury items. I think when we pay a lot for something, we feel greater appreciation for it and get much more pleasure from owning it than with products that cost much less.
What kind of possessions do you think are a waste of money?
Well, I think anything we buy that we don't need or use is a terrible waste of money. And it doesn't matter what the cost is. But I think many of us are in the habit of seeing things in a shop and thinking, that might be useful, or I could do with that. And so we get it, and then only use it once or twice, or sometimes not at all. I can definitely think of a few things that I've bought that fall into that category. Personally speaking, I think most designer label products are not worth the money you pay for them. Spending hundreds or even thousands on a luxury bag, shoes or a watch isn't really necessary because you can find equally good products at a fraction of the price.
What kind of possessions do people in your country typically want to acquire?
Well, I imagine it's pretty much the same as in most other countries. I'd say the vast majority of people in my country want to own their own home, and I think this is perfectly understandable. For me, renting doesn't make much sense because in the end, you've got nothing to show for the money you've spent. And I think many people also like to own designer label products and expensive brands, for example, clothes, shoes and accessories. I think mainly because it's a way of showing people that you're successful and also in order to gain acceptance with others.
Let's go on and think about possessions with a sentimental value. Why do some possessions have a sentimental value?
Well, I suppose the reason we say this about certain things is because we associate a lot of memories and emotions to them. And when an object we own has sentimental value, then it's something that we want to look after and keep safe. For me, I feel this way about all the photographs I've taken. When I look at them, they remind me of happy times in my life and the people who are important to me. For me, it would be terrible if anything ever happened to them because they evoke so many memories and emotions when I look at them.
Why do we leave or give certain possessions to our children or grandchildren?
Well, I guess there are a few reasons for this. First of all, if we have a family heirloom, something that's been passed down from generation to generation, then we're more likely to carry on the tradition. I think this is quite typical with things like jewellery or an ornament or antique furniture, but it could be anything really. Or maybe it's something we've bought ourselves that was expensive or has a lot of sentimental value to us, and so we want to preserve it. And leaving it to your children or a grandchild is one way of doing this. I think in this case, we usually give it to someone who we know will appreciate it and take care of it. or has admired it at some point in the past.
Why do people sometimes sell possessions that have a sentimental value?
I suppose that if it's something that's very valuable, then it might be difficult to insure it, or you don't feel safe keeping it in your home. Say, for an example, a valuable painting or a piece of jewelry. In this case, it might be better to sell it to a museum or a private collector who can take care of it properly. And I guess another reason might be a question of space. If it's something big, for example, a piano or a piece of furniture, then you may simply not have enough room for it in your home. And so you decide to part with it for that reason.
Well, thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you. Have a nice day. So, there you go. How did Claudio, do? What score would you give him for part 1, 2 and 3? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe and the bell below so that you never miss a video or the opportunity to improve your English and your IELTS bound score. I'm David, thanks very much for watching, and until next time, take care and keep practicing.